Hello people and welcome back to another video. Excuse the noise in the background, I'm trying to do the best with what I've got. Today we've got an interesting one on the table, as it were, and this is a new plugin which is just launching today, as far as I'm aware, by a company called Audialab. So if we go and find them, it's audiolab.com. And I thought what we'd do is start with some system requirements to make sure that whatever you're using actually meets that. So first things first, this plugin runs on any DAW that supports VST3 and AU. So they've ditched OG VST, and obviously they're using AU for Apple business with Logic. But if you're a Pro Tools user, AAX, it's not going to play nicely unless you use a wrapper, something from Blue Cat or something like that. But for all the standard kind of VST AU crew, this lot down here, notice that Bitwig is not mentioned, so I'm going to do it in Bitwig just to say, hey, it works here. It's my new favorite DAW, and I think that they're doing very cool things. There's your operating system requirements, macOS 10.11 or later, and 7 Windows, basically all the most recent Windows versions, and it's a 64-bit format. Okay, one thing to look out for, more on this in a bit, is this. We require an internet connection to generate sounds, but not to use the sounds that have been generated. What are you talking about? What does any of this mean? So welcome to the plugin. Here we are back inside Bitwig. I've made a new track. I've got my mic business going on up here. I've got an effects layer over here with some little side chaining so I can kind of gain stage and sidechain my mic to my output signal from my drum machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to instantiate an instrument, and we can see it here under the Audiolab subcategory. And we've got Emergent drums, and I'm going to load the VST3 version. And there she goes. Plop. And we get this lovely little window. This should already look familiar, even though you probably haven't even seen it before. And you can see we've got a 4x4 grid on the left with drums loaded in. And we can click the play, we can mute them, and we can move these homies around. Awesome. So let's just go over the basic interface. Most of it makes sense. Most of it's been inspired by other products that do similar things. But there's one key difference. So up here, we've got your license details. You can log out, some help, some sysconfig, tell you what system you're on. You've got two view modes. At the minute, we're in compact. Compact gives you the 4x4 on the left, and then a kind of focus window in the middle, and then some parameters, which we'll go over in a wee minute. And then you've also got the large mode, which is like your big daddy version, and all the settings are still available in this version. Okay, groovy. So let's go back to compact, and luckily I'm looking at Ucontact and Native Instruments. Look, it's scalable. Wow. Contact is the worst interface ever. Anyway, that's another video for another time. We can scale the window. We can also export all samples. More on that in a bit. And we can enable pad follows MIDI. So I've got some MIDI pads up here, and if I hit that, you'll see that the central section, the focus window, kind of changes to whatever pad we're on, right? So let's stay on this kick 1 pad. We can mute it. We can play it. And as before, I said we can move it. And let's focus on that window, right? So what we've got per slot, they're all the same basically at the current, version 1.34 build, the kind of release build. We have an overall level or gain. That's fine. And things like option clicking on a Mac will set it back to default 0 dB. We can change next door. We've got the attack time. So obviously a huge influential setting when you're dealing with transient material like drums. We've got a release time, so we can amplitude shape over time real quick. We have a crunch or clip feature, which is just kind of a crude distortion. Oh yeah, dirty. And we also have a filter, which is basically a low and high cut, so you can shave off some top and shave off some bottom. And we end up sounding like a sine wave 808, because everything always does. Or we can go the other way and get rid of all the lower harmonics and just have the crunch from the top. fantastic. So these are cool things, right? Standard kind of emergency. I want to tweak something real quick. You can just grab it. You can pan. If that's your thing, and you can also retune or pitch. So we can drop the note and sharpen it, which is pretty neat. Okay, but perhaps the most interesting section is kind of this innocent looking thing. In this window, you can still also click the start and end time. Yeah. So you've got a very crude kind of sample start, sample end edit handles. That's kind of handy. But this is where it gets really jiggy. Okay, so similar and random. So for those of you that didn't know, the crew at Audialab, building Emergent drums, have been getting in bed with AI. This seems to be everywhere at the minute. AI is everywhere. Machine learning is everywhere. So what they've done is they've taken a whole bag full of kick drum samples, kick drum synthesis samples, and so on, and basically used that as a data set to train their AI machine learning algorithms in the background. Okay, so this is one of the first tools I've seen that actually uses what, you know, Midjourney and OpenAI and Stable Diffusion and all the kind of image generation stuff. But it's giving you, the user, some control on what to do. So we can just hit generate at any point for any one of these cells, and it'll just generate a new sample. Notice that I was on random here, so the next sample that I generate is going to be randomly selected from the list, or a kind of combination of kickness data sets that they've trained their algorithm on. But if I like this one, which I kind of do, but maybe some lower top end. Fantastic. I could go, okay, give me a version which is similar by this amount to the one that's currently loaded. So we started here, they're previously loaded, and we moved to very, very samey, right? Because I had it close to similar. And if we go back to random and just go, it should generate a whole different, completely different kettle of fish. Again, if you like that, give me a new version. So all the ones that we've generated are kind of stashed on the previous and previous and next sound loaders, I guess. I don't know what the word is. It's early in the morning. So this is quite interesting. Well, at least for me, it's quite interesting because you can build a whole bunch of interesting sounds very quickly. They're generated, but it has a catch that we mentioned earlier when we were looking at this stuff. It requires an internet connection to generate the sound, because when you hit generate, it shouts back to the Audiolab server and says, hey, give me a new kick drum or whatever it might be. And so the server's doing the thinking and then passes back that data to you. So if I switch my Wi-Fi off and then I hit generate, we're going to get an error code. Yeah. Please check your internet connection and try again. If you believe that you're receiving this message in error, please contact support. That makes total sense. Let's put the Wi-Fi back on. And when she's dialed into my network, zoink. Hopefully, if my machine finds the Wi-Fi, then eventually we'll be able to just generate new samples, right? At the minute we can't. I don't know why. Why are you doing this when I need to make a video? Fantastic. Incredible. It's only when you turn, there we go. Now we're happy again. Okay, right, generate. Zoink. Away we go. So this was something that I mentioned to the crew over their Discord. They have a very active Discord to discuss what's going on with the plugin, any feedback from users. They've been doing this for quite a while now. They want it to be community driven. And one of the key feedbacks I gave them, because I live in Australia at the minute, is that Australia has pretty whack internet in general because it has an interesting problem of being a huge landmass and not many people on it. So where I live, there's lots of studios hidden in the hills that specifically don't have they don't have internet connection, so you don't get distracted when you're in the studio, which I think is a good thing. But then all of a sudden, this plugin would be rendered useless if you wanted to regenerate some new stuff, right? So I already mentioned that to the peeps at Audiolab, and they were very willing and accepting and wanted to work around that. So maybe there'll be a different version in the future or another app that you can run, which would be the local model, so you wouldn't need internet connection to make it work. This is obviously one of the 1,000 things on the to be developed list, but they're already aware of it. They were already accepting of that as a feature request, and so, you know, that might come in version 1.5 or whatever. No promises, of course, that's up to the crew there. But I guess what I'm saying is it's a weakness to the product in a sense, but that is easily remedied in the future. You can, of course, save your kits, load your kits, and it has a whole preset. So, for example, I loaded one that was just called All Kicks, which, exactly as you said, is all kicks. So all different types of kicks loaded, right? Cool. So one of the things you can do is obviously you might be thinking, well, I like that kick, but I want to load it in something else. I want to use a different sampler. I don't want to use this. You can, of course, just pick this up over here. This is one of the icons we never spoke about, and just drop it straight in, and then it will render a kick drum for you in the. So it's just going to render that kick drum on the fly, right? Go to the next one. Oh, I like you as well. Slap you down there. Now we've got fantastic. So we can just render all of this stuff in no time at all. So on the back of rendering into real time, maybe for me, I made, 4x4, all kicks, spend some time getting them in where you like them, maybe clip one, maybe don't clip one, change the attack release, whatever, fanny around until you're happy. And then what you can do is go export all samples. Holy cow. What are you saying? Yes, exactly. Export all samples. So it'll just go, where do you want me to plonk them? I'm going to stick them on my desktop, maybe in Emergent drums. We're going to make a new one called exported samples, and we'll just smash them in there. Go. And then we'll go and find that directory. Emergent drums, exported samples. There we go. We have the name, we have the date, and some incremental. So of course we could then sub-organize that, because we all want to organize everything back into kicks. Yeah, plonk it in there, select all of these homies, and pop them into there. No worries. So now at the click, literally the click of a button, I've got a whole slew, 16 of them, rendered in real time. So you could also just go, well, I've made another one which is all snares, as you can see here, right? So how do we do that, and what's going on? One of the things you can do is you notice that when you click on a cell, C1, you can up here say what it is that you want it to render in the AI engine. So maybe you want to render snares, closed hi-hats, open cymbals, percussion, glitch, or noise-based items. So if I load up snare, that's going to be loading the snare model in the background. And so when I say generate a random snare, please, it's going to shout to their AI server through the web and go, give me some data from the snare subcategory. And now we have, bring that down, control the click. I don't like that, or I like that, however you feel at the moment, whatever track you're working on. Okay, there we go. And again, we could then just go export all samples, go to where we were. This time we're going to make one called, obviously, snares. Oh, and I can't spell properly, but that's okay. Typo, come back, have a look. Now we've got snares. I'm going to have to rename that, aren't I? Because my brain will have a freak out if I don't. And we just rendered all of those snares. Holy cow. Right, super easy, super quick. You notice as well that there was color coding to this whole thing, all right? And so the blue, purple is kind of kick stuff. Orangey, snare stuff. We've got some claps, obviously. closed hi-hats, open hi-hats, some glitch items, noise. And so really it's quite basic, right? It's quite basic. It's giving you all the major tools that you would want. You can envelope shape, you can clip a little, you can filter off some goodies real quick without trying, pitch stuff really quickly, generate. This is the key, generate. So obviously what we're looking for in the future might be is, do we get access to an extra toy? Maybe it's an extra paid add-on, which is a training dataset plugin. That way we could grab a bag of samples that we've got already and train the machine in a way that we want and produce our own drum sample models. It would also mean that we could train it on anything, right? We could train it on water bottle hits, words, impacts, thunder cracks, anything. Again, the team were kind of open to that. They were discussing the possibility of allowing us to train or making an add-on, a brother or sister plugin to use as a trainer dataset creator that you could then load into this. So obviously the future is rich for this kind of platform. And they're one of the first peeps that I'm aware of that are doing this sort of work. So I hope you like the video. I hope you find it useful. And maybe we'll do another couple of these in the future. Okay, everyone, stay well. Happy programming. Catch you on the next one.